So, something that I felt quite hesitant to talk about for a long time, simply because of not actually having all the answers and kind of going on what this may be or what this may not be. Also, I guess, fear of sounding like a crazy person. But I am feeling more and more drawn to sharing the experience. I don't have the answers. I've listened to so many people talk about their experiences. The experiences resonate, but and their classification of them is just something that is maybe being adopted in order to make the conversation easier. But now I've experienced something strange twice, and I don't know what the heck is going on. So I'm going to share from where I am currently and see where this goes. And it's about soul relationships and agreements, right? Why I call it a soul relationship is because it does not feel normal. There is nothing normal about these relationships in terms of the way we've had relationships or, growing up, with as a teenager, as a young adult, the kinds of relationships or boyfriends I've had. It never felt like this. So that was when I first knew that something strange was going on. It was actually the catalyst into my first awakening or my first dark night of the soul. And now I've experienced this strange kind of relationship a second time, which is even more confusing in different ways. And it is the catalyst, or has been the catalyst, into my second dark night of the soul. So I'm currently standing with my hands in the air like this. Hey, oh universe, what the heck's going on here? Is every romantic partner that I connect with in the future going to catalyze some degree of massive or some massive awakening within me? If so, good gracious, I just might stay single for the rest of my life because damn, this path is hard. Okay, so let me explain what's happened in these two relationships. But before that, I was married before, as some of you know, not in the eyes of the law because it was to somebody from another country and we were in the process of, kind of getting things done on their side when everything fell apart. It was unfortunate. He had a family tragedy and it impacted the relationship, and then life got in the way and all kinds of things happened. But that was the first person that I'd ever been with that felt like how they describe a soulmate. He was my best friend, and we remained in contact for 5 years after we separated. And every time it was like speaking to my best friend. I was so comfortable being myself with this person in a way that I've never felt comfortable being with anybody else. We respected each other. We allowed each other to be who we are. There was no judgment or criticism in the relationship. There was just curiosity and excitement for sharing life. We would speak on the phone for 5 hours every single night unless we were together. And I'd never experienced this degree of comfort and ease with any romantic partner before, which is probably why we got married. But the second two relationships that followed that were insane. Okay, so what do I mean? The first one, as soon as I saw this guy, I had gone to a bar that night. It was 6 years ago, 6.5 years ago, maybe. I'd gone to a bar because my colleague's parents had come to Korea, and they invited me to come and meet them. So we all went out to this foreigner bar, and I stood on the one side of the bar, and as I looked across the bar, we made eye contact, and this was the most intense thing ever. It was like the whole room disappeared. There were no people. There was no space. There were no things. It was just me and this person as our eyes met. It felt really cosmic. I was not on any kind of spiritual path at the time, so I had no idea that this was something that was happening with other people, right? It just felt like a movie. I've talked about it in my book as well. It felt like a movie, like, my gosh, this was it, it was just strange. I could not stay away from him and he could not stay away from me. It was just impossible. You could feel the magnetic pull between us. And I don't mean this in like a, like, you know, I have a strong ego desire for this person. Not like that. It was something beyond me, and I could recognize that, damn, this is bigger than me right from the beginning, but I couldn't understand it because I didn't have any context or any information about it. I had no idea what was going on. I just could feel that this is bigger than me. The first time we kissed, and the second and the third and every other time after that, the world would disappear. Like everybody would just vanish. Like we could be in a public place, but as soon as that kiss happened, nobody else existed. But that was the magical side. There was a very dark side to this relationship. And what was so difficult about it was that being with him somehow started to bring to the surface the wounds of my early adulthood, which were the rapes and the divorce and all those divorce and all those things, the pains of my early adulthood, the trauma. And when this went on for a year and a half of us off and on. When we eventually broke up, finally, like, it was like, we can't handle this. It's too intense. It's too much. It's potent, you know. When we eventually ended that relationship for the final time, for the last time, I sunk deeply into my dark nights of the soul. But what happened is, it was on my 30th birthday, actually, and it was really, really painful. The wheels came off completely. But very soon after that, it could have been the very next day or something, I can't remember exactly, every single trauma from the past that I had been through, I felt as though it had happened the day before. Now, you just think about any painful moment in your life, the most painful thing you've ever gone through. Sorry to regress you into a painful memory. Don't go into the memory, just remember the pain of that time. And now think of another time that was as painful or almost as painful. And now think of another and another. Put them all together as though every single one of those incidents happened the day before, yesterday, as though they all happened yesterday. This is what it felt like. Every single memory was being relived in my body, in my mind, in my whole self. It was just too much. So that was the first catalyst onto my spiritual path, that dropped me into the dark nights of the soul, which in essence cleared all of that stuff. So I don't feel any kind of rising mentally, emotionally, energetically to the stuff from my early adulthood. It has been wiped. I mean, the pain, you know, the memory, of course, is still there, but I have no story about the memory, no judgments about it. It's as though it happened to a different person, because I was a different person. So that I can totally see why it was necessary for that to happen. And I could eventually, you know, feel grateful for the pain that came through that relationship, or that relationship as a catalyst. I'm going to share the next one, which is the most recent one, in the next video, because I don't want this to get too long. I see we're already on 9 minutes. But that is what led me onto the path of learning about twin flames, because everything that I was reading about twin flames at that point resonated with what I had been through with this person, until it happened again. See you in part 2.